Hey, everybody. Mike, Jack from Clio. Jack, as an aside, it's funny to me to say Jack, CEO and co-founder of Clio, because I remember the days, I was telling Teresa, of you and Ryan standing behind, like printed canvas crap, over a picnic table booths, and now you're
Yeah,
like friggin' Jack. So it's just funny. Anyway, hi. How are you?
good to chat with you, Mike. And I remember those days fondly. By the way, I put on a lot of city miles going to little CLE conferences all over the U.S. and it was a fun time. I loved that
I
time.
still wake up in cold sweats. Okay, so here's for you guys watching. Here's what's happening. I'm working on a big project with Clio that I'll tell you about later. The point is, as part of that, we're having. I had to have chats with some of the Clio people, and so I figured I might as well push a button and go live and just share it with you guys. And so Jack was kind enough to let me do that. So Jack, what I want to do, you were stupid enough to write a book,
Correct.
and so some of the principles that are in this book we're trying to translate to this moment through this project that I'm working on. And so I just want to contextualize some of the things that you said in the book and apply them to now. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You feel free to pivot however the freak you want to. Cool?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So first, one of the things that you talk about in the book a lot is the idea of the experience versus the service. Like,
Right.
that, in my nerd talk, we talk about the difference between the value chain and the supply chain. People think the supply chain needs to work. People need to get what they want when they want it. But the experience stuff is part of that too. So tell me what indications you're seeing as Clio that the experience of the service matters as much to clients as the service itself.
I would actually take that to the next level, Mike, and say that it matters more. And the reason I make that claim is I think when you look at most legal work product, and there's certainly exceptions to this rule, the actual work product is kind of the most fungible, replaceable piece of the whole value proposition. And the way that it's packaged and delivered and the client experience that wraps around that legal work product is actually the biggest opportunity and maybe the easiest place to differentiate as a law firm. And yet it's the place that law firms spend the least amount of energy. There's a lot of energy that goes into making the most perfect work product. And I would argue actually that a work product that is far beyond the good enough bar that most consumers are looking for. And what most consumers would value is that effort go toward delivering a truly differentiated client experience and an effortless client experience. So there's actually two pieces of data that I'll call to here. One is our research done by the Consumer Experience Bureau that showed that this notion that if you under promise and over deliver, that results in increased customer loyalty is actually incorrect. And there's scientifically large N studies that the CEB has done to demonstrate this, that once you essentially meet client expectations, the loyalty and likelihood to recommend and all the client satisfaction metrics really plateau there. So there's this law of diminishing returns at work for a legal work product where once you hit that you met my expectations bar, going beyond that actually has very limited return on investment and very limited value to your clients. What clients truly value, and I think we see this through the success of consumer-facing companies like Airbnb and Amazon and Uber and so on, is that they really value effortless client experiences. They value the way the work product is wrapped up. Uber is still just a ride. Netflix is still just a video stream packaged up, but what they've done is made everything around accessing that work product really effortless and really exceptional. And that's what clients will really value and reward you with referrals, positive online reviews, and repeat business.
And I want to talk about some of the stuff that you talk about in the book with customer journeys, but before we get to that, I don't know if pushback is the right. I want to have a conversation with you about the difference where we're special as lawyers and where we're not. Because like on the one side, we can make analogies to other businesses and learn from those analogies, right? So I gave an example in a podcast yesterday of medicine. It's not a perfect analogy, but it's analogous and way more studied than we are. Law is not a very studied industry in
No.
terms of really anything. We have terrible data in law. if you want to learn about your business, you can pull from medicine and make some analogies. But we're not like the car, like we don't have general merchant liability. We are highly regulated. And so tell me your thoughts on like where we're special, where we're not, how that creates responsibility relative to becoming a client-centered law firm.
I think lawyers are dealing with consumers and dealing with human beings. And whether you're a corporate lawyer dealing with people in a business context, or whether you're a consumer-facing lawyer doing wills and estates work, you're dealing with the messiness that are the human beings that are behind every one of the decisions we make as human beings. And what we've seen one trend, I think, that really speaks to the consumerization of legal services that I think we can learn from, and that was the consumerization of IT. If you remember this trend from the kind of 2010 kind of era, Mike, it was the idea that we started getting iPhones and we started getting tools like Dropbox and started experiencing easy to use software that didn't suck. And then we went to work and used all the software like Time Matters and stuff like that sucked, and wondered like, why does the world need to be this way? Why can't my software be as easy to use as an iPhone or Dropbox? And that was actually part of the trend that was what we recognized as an opportunity for Clio, that we thought there's no reason that practice management software needs to suck. And built Clio on that thesis, essentially, and made what was, bizarre sounding concept at the time, but beautiful, easy to use legal software. And the fact of the matter is that we are all having our expectations of what effortless and frictionless experiences should look like that are shaped by our interactions as a consumer. That's what drove this dramatic shift in corporate IT with the consumerization of IT. And it's what's driving what will be an incredibly important shift in legal, which is the consumerization of legal. The idea that the tools that consumers are using in their day-to-day, and by the way, that extends to Zoom and Skype and other video conferencing tools, the tools they're using in their day-to-day with other service providers, they're going to be wondering, if they're not already, why aren't my lawyers using these tools to create more effortless delivery of legal services? So I think we're seeing consumer preferences applied strongly to all of the people that provide them services. And I'll give you a really concrete example. Let's talk about dentists. I have a friend that was recently choosing a new dentist, and the sole decision-making criteria he used is, what dentist can I select that will never make a phone call to me? I don't ever want to receive a phone call or voicemail from my dentist. I want to receive a text message, and I want to have an online booking tool. And again, if you think about dentists, I'm sure every dentist goes to dental school and frames their certificate and hangs it up in their office thinking, I fix teeth better than anyone, right? All of us probably look at that as a pretty fungible service and realize there might be a 5% spread between how well one dentist does our teeth compared to another. But at the end of the day, it's that service delivery layer wrapped around the dental services that can truly differentiate. And as my friend's anecdote demonstrates, some cases may actually be the most differentiating aspect of how you deliver a service. The other important point I'll make is, whether you're a dentist or a doctor or a lawyer, the hard work and incredibly hard work of becoming a lawyer is kind of the hard part of the job. Like, you've done the bone crunching work of passing the bar exam, of going to law school, of getting into law school. That's the tough work. You can produce great work product. That's years of your life that went into producing that work product that meets the bar and in some cases surpasses the bar for what your clients need. The easy part of the job, the incremental like 5 or 10 or maybe 20% of effort to really differentiate your services and unlock a ton of opportunity is around this consumer and customer-centered design movement. And if you just put this incremental amount of effort into your law practice to be more client-centered, you will basically be giving superpowers to the legal skills you obtained through the course of going to law school. You've done the hard part of the job. Now do the easy part to really win in the new marketplace that's out there.
Yeah, and I mean, you've read my book, so you know that I have thoughts on that. And I tend to say, like, if your competitive basis is going to be quality, then be mindful of that, build around that. But there's probably a lot less demand for that than you think there is. And you're probably not nearly as high quality as you think you are because you don't have systems for quality anyway. So you're just saying, I'm special, so I get to charge a lot. That's not the same as something a client can measure. But I did want to ask you on that issue of like service being a differentiator.
The other reason that's tough, Mike, you make this point in your book, and I'll just underscore it, is it's tough to measure quality and articulate quality. Right. And furthermore, there's plenty of bar rules preventing you from being too explicit about that. So you can't say I'm awesome. So the best thing you can hope for is clients, 100 clients on Avo, 100 clients on Google saying, Mike kicks ass. Mike did unbelievable work. Mike was responsive. Mike text messaged me when my check came in. Mike did X, Y, or Z to deliver an exceptional client experience. Everything was paperless. I didn't ever have to go into Mike's law office. It was amazing. Like, that's the kind of stuff that other people will read those reviews and nod their heads and say, Mike's my guy.
But some of that is like self-selected, meaning if I start sending out text messages and then I start getting positive messages from people that, ooh, I love text messages, I'm going to start saying people love text messages. But I'm getting that because I sent text messages, right? Like, so I'm going back to data that George shared with us from the last Clio Legal Trends report. There was some percentage that was like, I want updates via an email or a client interface. Right. And it was not a large percentage. It was like 13% or something. And so how do I decide as somebody doing this service design, is 13% the anomaly? Like, why would I not go after the 87%? Or is 13% a broadening opportunity that I need to go after so I can be the guy in the future that's differentiated? Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And I think you need to think about think about it as a flywheel. You're right. Like it's about self-selecting, or I would even say self-reinforcing, right? You're going to decide, what am I investing in? What am I betting on? And how do I build a flywheel that has kind of got a certain level of self-perpetuating motion to it? And it may be that you find a real niche of people that fit really well with your business model. What I would look to the Legal Trends report, and the maybe additional perspective I'll add to the data that George shared, is when you look at the 2009 Legal Trends report, we talk about this huge chasm between consumer preferences and what lawyers think those preferences are. I would argue what we're actually seeing is a flavor of what Henry Ford described as, if I asked consumers what they wanted, they'd ask for faster horses, not for a car, right? And this was famously quoted by
Steve Jobs,
Steve Jobs, and I use this analogy so much that people around Clio know me to just say faster horses, etc. Right? Like, that's just kind of when you're having a discussion with a user. And when I talk to a Clio customer, by the way, I take the same frame as this person will try to articulate a pain point to me via articulating a feature. This is what we do as human beings, right? I hear this all day long when I'm talking to customers is, here's a feature I would love in Clio. And what I try to do is throw away what they're suggesting as a feature, because it's probably, bluntly, like a bad idea. It's probably not the right feature. It's probably not the right way to solve that problem. What I try to do is peel that back and say, what is the pain point that underlies this feature suggestion? And how can we solve that problem as comprehensively as possible, not just for this customer, but for all customers? And I think lawyers should take the same kind of approach to looking at both the legal trends data as well as their own customer conversations. And if you look at that data, what it shows is lawyers think it should be a phone call and clients think it should be an in-person meeting. And what I think we've seen in the COVID-19 era is the solution is actually neither of those things. It's actually a video conference. It's a Zoom call, which maybe perfectly solves for both of those things, where the client's talking about a feature. The feature to them is, I want an in-person meeting. But the pain point that they're actually feeling is that I want a face-to-face conversation. That might equally well or even be better realized through a video call.
Yeah, right. They may want it just in person because they think that's the fastest way to get the answer. If you can give them a faster way to get an answer.
That's the feature.
Right.
And the feature is the face-to-face. You say, like, hey, by the way, we can have that same interaction. I can read your body language. You can read my body language. We can have all the convenience of a phone call. And by the way, you don't need to commute to my downtown fancy office space. I don't need to, frankly, waste time with like tea and coffee and pleasantries and a lobby, and the half-hour meeting turns into an hour and a half process for both of us. We can have a 15-minute Zoom call, jump right into your legal needs. You get that empathy, you get the face-to-face, you get the body language, you have all the benefits of a phone call, most of the benefits of an in-person meeting, and a whole bunch of advantages over both that actually really solves that underlying pain point in a nice way. So I think that's where, as a lawyer, you need to approach some of these problems. And one of the frameworks I talk about a lot in the book, and I know you're a fan of as well, Mike, is this jobs to be done framework, popularized by Clayton Christensen, or developed by the late and great Clayton Christensen. And the idea there is you need to think about outcomes. You need to think about the outcomes you're trying to drive. And again, a lawyer is not hiring you to get a will produced. They're hiring you to achieve peace of mind. And thinking about all the legal work you're producing, and thinking about, it's not about the work product. As much as we're trained as lawyers to think about that work product, and that we want to create the perfect will,
right.
Realize, the will off of, the name's escaping me, LegalZoom, thank you, probably does the job just fine for 95% of cases. But what I can wrap that will around in terms of peace of mind and delivering the outcome my client's looking for is something that lawyers have a unique ability to fill the need of, but it requires a bit more in the way of entrepreneurial thinking.
So we're looking at LegalZoom and saying, no, I'm going to respond to that threat by making a more complicated will. And what you're saying is, no, respond to that threat by doing the thing only you can do, which is be a freaking person, which LegalZoom can't do.
LegalZoom's the faceless website that's going to stamp out and give me a good enough will.
Right.
And you can't beat that. And you can't beat that with a value prop either, by the way. If you're trying to say my will's better objectively and quantifiably, it's a very tough hill to climb. And easier, if I was a will and estates lawyer, what I would say is, when somebody comes to me saying, I want a will, they're coming to me with a feature. They're coming to me with here's the thing I want you to produce for me. Here's the work product. And I'm going to, do everything I can to produce a great will for this person. But I'm going to try to automate the process. I'm going to try to streamline the interactions with the client. I'm going to do an online questionnaire. I'm going to make this completely smooth and as automated as possible. I'm going to think about, how do I achieve the job to be done for my client? So if I was a wills and estates lawyers, I'd look and say, you know what? They're looking for peace of mind. When Jack comes to me when he's 25 years old and says, I need my first will, he's not saying, I want to spend $500 on a piece of paper and file it away and forget about it. I want ongoing peace of mind for the rest of my life. If I was a wills and estates lawyer, I'd say the best way I solve for that problem is actually with a subscription service. I'll charge $50 a year for a will service, where I say to Jack, you're 25 years old, here's your first will, but look, you're unmarried, you're single, you haven't founded a company, a bunch of things will change in your life. But on a yearly basis, I'm going to send you a questionnaire around what's changed in your life. And if anything meaningful has changed when you respond to that electronic questionnaire, I'll schedule a quick half-hour Zoom call where we walk through what changed. Now we'll update your will, include it in that $50 a year. And you have the peace of mind knowing that as you get married, as you have 3 kids, as you found a company, and whatever else life has in store for me, I'm going to have an up-to-date will. And as a lawyer, think about the lifetime value of Jack as a client. All of a sudden, it's $50 a year times the number of years Jack lives. Let's call that 50 years. I hope I live longer than that, but you're going to get $2,500 from my will over that time frame instead of the $500 you might have gotten in that upfront payment. I'm happier, even though I'm paying you more money over time. I've got the outcome I'm looking for, which is peace of mind. You're winning. You've got cash flow. You've got an ongoing relationship with a client. I'm probably bringing more business to you over time. Hey, Mike, I'm forming a family trust now. Can you help me with that? You're going to be my first call because we've got an ongoing relationship. That's the way I think that we achieve win-win-win scenarios for clients, for lawyers. And by the way, the nice side effect of all of this is even though we're acting in a client-centered way, optimizing for the client, you as the lawyer are winning, you're making more money, and we're also increasing access to justice, which I know is a cause all of us care about. And I really believe that access to justice is more than pro bono work and asking our bar associations to solve this access problem. It's us figuring out how do we make our services more accessible. And to the average consumer in the U.S., who cannot afford an unanticipated $400 expense, so much legal work of all flavors is totally out of reach. But saying, hey, here's a $50 a year thing to achieve the peace of mind you want, that is a lot more accessible. And I think we've got great examples of that.
Thinking of the long game. I know you got to go in a minute. You got another call, but I want to drop a timely question on you real quick that probably, if you ramble on, it's your fault, not my fault that you went over.
I could run a few minutes late, by the way, Mike. And I do like to talk, so rein me in if you have to.
So it's your fault, not mine. So
you're getting me passionate, though. I like the questions.
I read this article the other day that was talking about design stuff and the requirement for empathy, and you write a lot about empathy.
Yes.
And what he wrote in this Medium piece that was really good was that one of the flaws of design thinking is this idea that some average white dude can take empathy to an infinite degree, right? Like that we can always, through some process, empathize. But he was saying, like, I can never understand the lived experience of a black man in Detroit. There's just no way for me to do it. For your company, and maybe pivoting it to advice for these firms, when you're doing this empathy work, how hard is it, and how hard should you work to actually bring in actual people who have diverse backgrounds, whether it's race or gender or work experience, or like don't just have a bunch of lawyers in a room? Talk to me about that. How far can you stretch empathy in a design process?
Yeah, well, empathy. I do think there's limits for. I mean, the concept. I think of as trying to put yourself in someone else's shoes and trying to understand their situation at a deep level, and so much of legal work, even by the way, when it's white dudes doing work for other white dudes, does not display a lot of empathy. And never mind the lack of empathy that gets amplified when you're trying to deal with people of truly diverse backgrounds that are bringing life experiences you don't have the first clue about. Right. And Mike, I believe you were in the audience at the 2018 ClioCon keynote that Brian Stevenson gave.
Yes. Yep.
Brian Stevenson talked about a concept I think is so important, and just thinking about that guy's keynote almost moves me to tears. But the concept he talked about is proximity, right? Like even if we do not share someone else's experiences firsthand, right, proximity is what gives us empathy, and proximity is what gives us ability to create impact. So to your question, absolutely. Like the way that we create proximity is by inviting people with more diverse backgrounds into our lives, whether that's through our workplace, whether that's through our personal lives, and put ourselves proximal to their experiences. This means spending time with them in their life experience, not trying to pull them into ours, and then building services that accommodate that experience. And even if you can never put yourselves in the shoes of your client, even if as a privileged white man, you can never truly put yourselves into the incredible life experiences and situations that some of your clients might have gone through. You can get yourself closer to those. And I would argue that any increase in empathy that we're able to achieve, even if that's not truly being able to ever experience that firsthand, is going to help equip us better for designing and delivering legal services that meet the needs of those that we're trying to serve. And as Brian said, it's about proximity. It's about building that proximity, and so much will naturally flow from that. That's positive and good.
Well, and I'm talking to Karen at Clio tomorrow about how when you're doing this design work, how do you build those interdisciplinary, intercultural, whatever experience teams in your design process. So I'm excited for that. I didn't know how big a fan I was of Karen until Teresa told me who she was, and now I'm just following her around on the internet.
Karen's great, yeah.
So thanks for hanging out, you guys. By the way, Clio just put out that they're doing their event virtual this year. They're doing a super early bird price. Just go find the button and push it and sign up. It's ridiculous. Just go sign up.
Just sign up. It's $99 until the end of June. It's going to be the best virtual legal conference on the planet. So sign up. It's in October. ClioCloudConference.com.
And get the book.
Buy the book. It's on Amazon. It is on Kindle. It's on paperback, and the ebook is coming out shortly.
Jack Newton, everybody. Thanks for hanging out.
the
audiobook. Oh, did you do that? I have to record mine, and I'm so lazy. Jack, you're a good man. Jack Newton, everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
You guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.